and welcome. It is Spooky Saturday, and you know what the deal is. It's 3:15 a.m. Time to tell spooky stories with my boys. It's Captain Leon Wolf here,
And Billy the Scientist here.
And Francis the Vampire.
and we're here to tell spooky stories
On Spooky Saturday.
If you're here, you know what the deal is. So let's get into it. We get stories from Reddit, and all the description and info is in the video and in the description. So for the first story, we have from r/scary stories from user /Sarah Welch 444. Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate the story. And Billy is going to be reading this one.
Alright, this story is called Missing Child. It's, not a good one, okay? I remember when we first called the police last night to tell them we hadn't seen our daughter in a few hours. I sobbed over the phone next to my husband, Jack, and begged them to do something. She was only 6 years old. Being missing only a few hours meant something must have been wrong. It was a small town. We all knew each other and lived in peace for the most part. How could something go wrong? They sent a few officers out, and upon coming to our home, realizing the situation in full, they began to worry too. Our property was huge. We lived in a small town, Jack and me. We moved here when I got pregnant with Emmy. We wanted to start life anew, and life with a white picket fence in front of our home. So we moved to a small, middle-of-the-nowhere town and got a big house right in front of the woods. Maybe some people would just be displeased by the thought of that simple lifestyle. I'll admit, I used to be, or afraid of what lurks within the vast woods behind our home, but I never feared them. We would often take walks through the woods as a family. They were beautiful. Emmy was so drawn to adventuring in them, so she was very familiar with them. She could have run out there and any number of things could have happened to her. We started with search parties through the woods, but nothing came up. We searched through every acre of land that we could, but nothing turned up. Not one thing. Not a footprint. Not an article of clothing, and luckily not a drop of blood. We wouldn't find her out in the woods, where everyone thought she would be found. Next, we had to start to cope with the fact that she could have been taken. We had to cope with the fact that she couldn't be taken. We were a close town. I knew all of my neighbors, and they all knew me. Everyone was kind. I always felt safe there. I was sure that nobody in this town could have taken Emmy from me. So, if somebody had taken her, she must have been long gone. After weeks and weeks of searching to no avail, the case grew cold. The officers promised that they would keep looking, but there wasn't much hope in their voices. They tried to hide from Jack and me, but I wasn't stupid, and he wasn't either. They hadn't given up hope. Unless something turned up, they couldn't keep on looking for her in a town that we knew she wasn't in. I remember vividly walking through the town after that and seeing all of the missing posters slowly rot and decay on their telephone poles and bulletin boards and storefronts. Nothing bad ever happened in our quaint little town, so no matter how much time passed, nobody would forget about the tragedy of the family, had to suffer. Flyers would fly off in the wind, and I'd watch them go by, and townsfolk would often come up to me and comfort me and give me words of encouragement. But after the first few weeks, having everyone here with you, you're still in shock. It isn't until the initial phase passes and you are left alone with what you are facing that you truly face it. The shock wears off and you come to terms with your reality. That was 10 years ago. My husband still sits by the phone sometimes, but he knows there will never be a call. He loved our little Emmy so much. She was Daddy's little girl. She was beautiful and perfect in every way. Her baby blue eyes always stared into his so longingly. They just loved each other so much. I know that he lays by the phone some nights and waits to hear her voice again, knowing he never will. Jack and I only had each other now, just like before. I sat down there with him one night. It was her birthday. He couldn't sleep after we had celebrated with a cake for her, as we do every year, and watched some old movies, home movies. She would have been 16 today, turning into a woman and caring about the boys in school, and we would have asked her to prom. I know he just wanted to see what she would have been, and it killed him to not know. We sat up by the phone, watching one of her favorite Disney movies that we all saw together right before she went missing. As the animation flew across the screen and we were entranced, thinking about her, a loud ring interrupted. It could have been anyone, but Jack frantically grabbed the phone on the first ring and picked it up. I paused the movie and watched carefully, knowing I would have to watch the hope drain from my love's eyes once again. It hurt me more every time I saw it happen. Tears started to fall from his eyes, but as I went to comfort him, I noticed that they were tears of joy. No, it was impossible. He hung up the phone after saying thank you and dropped it to the floor, trembling. "They found her," he said to me, tearfully. "I knew that they would." My body froze up. Maybe it was shock that came over me, but I knew that she was dead. She had been dead for 10 years. I accepted that. And Jack never did. But I knew that she was dead. I froze, and tears came to my eyes as Jack ran up out of the chair to grab his keys. He grabbed me and led me into his car, and we raced into the station. Upon entering, we saw her with the same officer who had worked the case all those years ago. Jack ran up to the beautiful blonde girl, quickly embracing her in his arms and leaving me behind to stand there, paralyzed. I was in disbelief, convinced that what I was seeing could not be real. I wondered if she remembered me, if she remembered who I was. After witnessing the tearful hug, I saw her pull out of it. She turned to look at me, and the moment I saw those beautiful baby blue eyes, I knew it was my daughter. There was no doubt at all. Tears flowed down her face, and she walked up to me, slowly. Did she remember? "Mom?" she said, her voice breaking and shaky. I stared at this beautiful girl in front of me, dumbfounded, for a moment before responding. I felt as if my voice could not escape from me. "Baby?" I choked out to her. Without responding, she collapsed in my arms, sobbing. I stood there frozen for a moment, unsure of how to react to this shocking discovery, but after a moment wrapped my arms around her, clutching her like any loving, grieving mother would do to her missing child newly found. A tear came to my eye silently and raced down my cheek as I exhaled a breath of relief. I thought she was dead. No, I knew she was dead. How was she not? It had been 10 years. How did she survive? I found out later she had amnesia. She barely remembered anything from what she went missing because of a blow to her head. They didn't know who caused it. Thank God they didn't. Thank God I hit her in just the right place. I sat there next to Emmy. Barely even knew her name. She didn't remember who her parents were until she saw us again. That meant she couldn't have remembered when I took her out into the woods that night and struck her across the back of the head with my Jack's old metal bat from his baseball days. From when we could be together and live our lives how we wanted, without her getting in the way and making us uproot everything. When all we had was each other, and all we loved was each other. She's upstairs in her old bedroom now. We just got home last night. The neighbors have sent gifts and flowers and food. They've all been so wonderful and supportive. Jack is up there, bringing her breakfast in bed and eating with her, with much more love for her now than she had ever had before. Maybe it's because he understands that it was what it was like to lose her. She means even more to him now than ever. I'm growing more paranoid. I'm afraid that her memory will come back. It hasn't yet, but I'm petrified that the second she sees the woods, my cover will be blown. It's not like I can kill her again. That would look too suspicious, wouldn't it? I made sure everything would work out. I took her to the woods that night, hit her across the head, and drove so far out of the town that she could never get back. I threw her body in the lake. I watched as she floated away lifelessly. I know that she had drowned, but here she is, back again. Was she sent to punish me? Jack came down the stairs to tell me that she wanted to see me. His smile is larger than ever now that she's home again. He hasn't smiled at me like that since the day we got married, or the day I gave birth to Emmy. It's all he wanted in the world, and he has it now. I'm nothing, and she's everything. If she wasn't here to punish me, or if she was aware of what I had done and hell-bent on revenge, he wouldn't even care. I'm opening the door to her room now to see her sitting upright in her bed staring at me with a smile painted on her face. I take a deep breath in preparation for whatever is to come. Facing the truth, or having to hide behind a mask for the rest of my days until I can figure out what to do with her. If I can't figure out anything, then I'll just have to live in constant fear of her memory coming back when I know, and knowing what happened on that night when I killed her. That's the end of the story.
What the fuck is this?
What? What? Can we, like, send this comment to the FBI or something? What is this? The first comment is like, "You good?" That's terrifying. And then she replied, "Haha, thank you." Okay, yeah, no, so she made it up, but still, it's, oh my god. Jesus.
Yeah, that was. Did you read this beforehand?
You know what? No, I didn't. I read the other ones beforehand, but I didn't read this one, so that kind of came out of nowhere. No, I usually vet the stories, but nope, didn't vet this one. That was dark, but you know what? These are spooky stories. That was a cool twist, though. Kind of like fucking gnarly. Holy shit! Like, well, you know, that's kind of what you get. You fucking crazy.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus. Like, if you're gonna fucking kill your kid, like, what the fuck? Like, oh my god. That is. I'm so glad that that's not real.
Yeah, well, I mean, that we know of.
All right, that's too dark. I don't want to think about that.
Okay, alright.
All right, let's get to the next story. This one, Francis is gonna read this one.
Alright, cool. So this one's called, it's from r/paranormal. User, no underscore cantaloupe 2026. Fucking, what a fantastic. I mean, I love cantaloupe, so I don't agree. But great username. Alright, the story is called The Man in the Basement. And, hey, before I read this, did you read this one?
No, I didn't. We're kind of on a time crunch right now, so I didn't really vet this, so just kind of, we're winging it, you know. So just, if there's a twist, then, well, we're finding out too.
Okay. And if it's just totally fucked up, we'll just have to edit it out.
Yeah, I guess so.
Alright, let's do this. Okay, so yeah, it's called The Man in the Basement. Let me set the scene. I used to own a house near the mountains in the northeastern side of Colorado. This was a period of time where I had just gotten fired from my job because of COVID-related reasons and was home alone. I lived with my roommate at the time, but he went out to some club that night, leaving me alone with my dog. I hate to even think of this, and this is my first time I've ever told anyone besides my neighbors. It was around 8 p.m. on a Friday, and I was watching Friends on the TV. While watching, I heard what sounded like boxes shuffling around in the basement. My dog immediately noticed this and brought his head up. Our basement wasn't finished, and we had a window down there which wasn't in good shape, so I just had brushed it off, thinking that the wind was making noises. After a while, the noises never stopped. I decided to grab my light and head down there with my dog. I grabbed my light from the kitchen and opened the door to the basement. I started walking down through the stairs, calling my dog. The only thing odd was that my dog decided to not come down and was making that, like, high-pitched noise that dogs make when they were like, when they're happy or whatever. He refused to go down in the basement, and he just stood at the top of the basement. To give you perspective on how my basement was laid out, was all of my extra stuff from my childhood, like clothes and such, was on the back right corner. So when you walk down, then on the very right, that is where that stuff is. And all my roommate's stuff is right next to mine on the left, and that is where a bench with all of the previous owner's stuff that were left here. So while going down there, the sound was still very clear and was getting louder and louder the farther I got in there. I saw the window open and making some noises and decided to go close it. As soon as I closed it, it felt like a hand grabbed my leg. But it wasn't a normal hand, it was like a super hot. My legs were swooped back and I fell down. All I can remember from this point on was my dog barking extremely loud. I then woke up and found myself in the closet of my roommate's bedroom. I walked downstairs and looked at the time, and it was 3, and my roommate wasn't back yet. I literally looked at the clock and grabbed my phone, dog, and ran outside the front door. I went over to the neighbors around a mile. I ran there bare feet. I didn't have a car at the time, by the way. When I got to the neighbors that I barely knew, I rang the doorbell extremely fast, and around a minute later, a man opened the door and asked why I was ringing his door this late at night. Oh, so it is 3 a.m. And I could tell I could tell he was quite frustrated with me. I told him everything and he said that it was his previous owners moved out because the husband of the house ended up hanging himself in the basement. Okay, well that's kind of, okay. We talked about that for a bit, while I let my dog run it around in the back. I called my roommate to not go home and come over to the neighbors. Around an hour, he showed up, and we all just sat there and talked about what had happened. Around 10 in the morning, I headed back to my house with my roommate to find the sofa flipped, all the doors open, and the cabinets in the kitchen all open, with dishes on the floor broken. I decided to go live with my sister and sold the house for around 2 months later. To this day, I'm not sure what happened, and I haven't had anything else like this. By the way, something that I didn't tell was that I had just broken up with my girlfriend. I've heard that ghosts thrive off of bad energy or whatever. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think it was, or how to explain it.
All right, and then if you kind of look in the comments, you can kind of see, just like, I don't know. I've never read these comments, so there's like a bunch of them though. It'd be kind of funny. You want to read a comment?
Wow, that was a freaky read. When you bolted out the house, did you notice if the couch cabinets and dishes were in the state you found them in when you got back home in the morning? Like, could that have been something you'd done during the period that you can't remember? Wait, what? Obviously it sounds more, this is what the comment says. Encouraging calamity, that's what the Redditor user is. Obviously it sounds more like typical spirit behavior, but I just wondered if this is something that was a possibility. If you raced out, could you have missed it? But at the same time, I do think it's something that most people would notice. Yeah, no, that comment, I don't know. one of the creepiest reads ever. Jesus. Some of these comments.
Yeah, no, that would be absolutely terrifying. Um, to, okay, first of all, he got like swept up in the basement and wakes up in his roommate's closet. Okay, why? What are you doing? How'd that happen? You know, like, what?
Yeah, no, that is weird.
Yeah, no, it is a little spooky. But the fact that, like, I don't know, does bad energy attract that shit? Is that really a thing?
I don't know. I, I guess. I don't really fully believe in like ghosts.
Oh, you don't? I mean, neither do I. But
Yeah, no, I know that there's a phantom that lives on our ship, so you guys are not gonna fucking try this right now.
okay, yeah. We did see the Phantom on the ship, but that's on the Atty. The Atty takes place in the mind. The mind is limitless on what we can create. So there's ghosts in the mind, but not in real life. But nobody's gonna get you.
Yeah, okay, we'll see. You wanna read the last story?
Yeah. Let me see. Once again, I this is a short one. This is a really short one, and it's just because it's kind of related on to what we just read. So I just kind of like that. I was like, ooh, that's kind of, I like that. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, this is also on r/paranormal. User, whoa, Mauricio here. Mauricio, MAURICIO _ here. Yeah, that's the username. Sometimes when I come back to my room, it's a mess. Okay. You probably just have like roommates that just rifle through your shit all the time. Okay. Alright, so I really don't know where to talk about this, but essentially, sometimes when I'm home alone and I go off to do something else like stop motion or the bathroom, I guess this guy's into stop motion, I come back to my room and I've been noticing some patterns. First off, every time so far, my mouse and keyboard end up upside down. Okay. And second, the wind-up tin toys on my desk are fallen. Third, so far, this happens during the daytime. The first two things, the first two times it happened, it wasn't too creepy. Okay, well, first of all, I'm sorry. This is just me speaking. I'm done. I'm like cap speaking. How are you letting that happen the first time and not being creeped out? If I go into my studio and my mouse and keyboard are upside down, you better believe I'm freaking the fuck out.
Yeah, what? It took him 3 times.
Yeah, third time's the charm with this guy.
But but today, which marks the third time, not only did this happen, but my keyboard somehow ended up upside down on my chair. One of my tin toys and my camera prop ended up on my bed. And the light stands that I used for stop motion videos ended up falling over on the floor. I've tried to figure out how scientifically this is possible, but I really don't know. What do you guys think?
Oh, that's the story. Well, I think you're full of shit.
Yeah, but it makes for a good Reddit post, though, right?
I don't know. Maybe, maybe the ghost of turning things upside down and knocking things off of desks and yeah, is that what ghosts do? Is that really what ghosts boil down to? Like they just knock stuff around.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, why though?
Maybe to like get your attention.
But why would they want our attention?
I don't know.
To do what? And how long are they going to be doing this? See, that's the thing about ghosts. People don't think about like like there's 24 hours in a day. Like what's a ghost doing that entire day? You don't fucking know.
Yeah, I mean, wow, I'm surprised that you don't believe in ghosts anymore now. I'm proud.
Yeah, well, it just makes sense now. I don't. I know we saw a phantom on the ship, but that's because the Atty's a magical place. So there probably is a fucking phantom. But you know what? I'm gonna fucking befriend that phantom.
All right. Well, cool. Let's befriend the Phantom on the Atty. Well, that has been all for Spooky Saturday. I thank you all so much for coming. Um, if you enjoyed it, you know,
Yeah, give us a like. Like it if you liked it.
Subscribe for more.
and this has been Cap and the Boys for Spooky Saturday. Signing off. Have a good day.